Thank you, Secretary Brown, President Clinton, President Scafaro, veterans of the Italian campaigns, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered here to remember, honor, and thank the veterans that fought in the Italian campaigns, some of the most difficult in World War II. Many thousands of Allied soldiers, airmen, and sailors died in Sicily and Italy, and it is appropriate we remember those dead comrades at this cemetery, which is located at the site of one of the deadliest campaigns of the war. After the defeat of the Axis power in Africa, the Allies invaded Sicily, and there was some hard fighting, some rapid advances, and in less than a month that island fell. Then the mainland of Italy was invaded, the Fifth Army at Salerno, the British at the tip. They pushed north. The Germans decided to defend Italy south of Rome on a line going through Cassino from Adriatic to the Mediterranean. They needed some time to build that, and they built a very strong defensive line. So that 2 months they needed, they kept pushing against the Allies moving up. It was mountainous, difficult terrain. It rained a great deal in those months. And the closer they got to Cassino, the more difficult the war became. The Germans were determined not to let the Allies pass that point. And in December, these terrible battles went on, and they decided that maybe if they had an amphibious landing at this location, it might draw German troops away from the Cassino front. So a British division landed at Anzio, an American division landed here. They moved inland about 7 or 8 miles, formed a defensive perimeter. The second battle for Cassino started. The Germans did not take troops away from that front, and that was a terrible battle. It ended without success. In the meantime, the Germans reacted very fastly, and in less than just a little over a week, there were 100,000 good German soldiers surrounding this beachhead. The Americans also sent 2 more divisions, the British another division, and at the end of this landing occurred on January 22nd, 1944. In the end of January, the Allies were ready to push out, and the objectives were Capelloni for the British and Cisterna for the Americans. It was a very difficult, hard fight. They did make gains, but the night before, 14,000 Germans were placed in front of the attack division, and they had to come back. Then Hitler ordered that the beachhead be eliminated. And so in February, very massive attacks of German soldiers came forward, waves of infantry, tanks. The men on the front line held. Artillery made a big difference in those attacks. It was almost lost at the British end. The Germans could have gone all the way to the beach, but they didn't know that. Then that attack failed, and they were very surprised it failed. They thought they would win that. So they were ordered to do it again in March. And again, the Allies held. There was a lull now in April and May, and on this beachhead there were 100,000 men and women dug in. Everybody lived in foxholes or dugouts. It was not safe any place on the beach. On the front line, you could not move in the daytime. It was very dangerous. Everything had to be done at night, but there were patrols at night. It was very difficult in the front lines. This was a marsh, and the water would seep into those dugouts. It was cold and difficult and dangerous. Patrolling was very dangerous. In the rear area, shelling. There were 6 nurses killed in hospitals in the rear area on this beachhead. Now in May, they decided to push out again at the Cassino front, the 4th battle for Cassino, and it was successful. The 5th Army broke through into Liri Valley, and on May 23rd, the Allies pushed out of this beachhead. It was very hard, very difficult, very costly, but in 2 days, Cisterna was taken, and then we pushed on to Valmontone, cut Highway 6, and Rome was liberated on June 4th, 1944. What was the effect of all this hard fighting, all this dying? It was extremely difficult but vital to this outcome of World War II, our successful outcome. The Sicily invasion, it was important because it denied the Germans bases, air bases and sea bases, where they could interdict shipping in the Mediterranean. It was very important to keep those sea lanes open to the Suez Canal and around to Iran, because we delivered millions of tons of supplies to Russia, thousands of vehicles. That was very important. When we invaded Sicily, the Germans reacted by taking 10 good divisions from the Eastern Front. It had serious implications for them in several battles. And then when we invaded Sicily, it led directly to the overthrow of fascism in Italy and restored democracy and freedom to the Italian people. But the main effect of all this fighting and dying was to draw 20 good German divisions into Italy. If those divisions had been free to be deployed in northern France, that invasion at Normandy would have been extremely difficult, much more difficult and costly. And there were military experts, firstly among the British, that felt that that invasion could not succeed unless this battle in Italy continued, and we just had to keep pushing the Germans to draw those forces here. We, the veterans gathered here today, thank all of you for being with us. 50 years ago, the invasion of Normandy overshadowed the liberation of Rome. And in 3 days, the world's attention will again be centered at Normandy. But for today, because of your presence here, the world's attention is focused on this American cemetery, where 8,000 men and women are buried, and the Italian campaigns are not forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my distinct honor to present to you the President of the United States, President Clinton. Great job. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Mr. Shirley, thank you for that kind introduction and for your moving rendering of the history. We stand today in fields forever scarred by sacrifice. Now our moment for common cause has come. It is up to us to ensure a world of peace and prosperity for yet another generation. Thank you, and God bless you all.
But for today, because of your presence here, the world's attention is focused on this American cemetery, where 8,000 men and women are buried, and the Italian campaigns are not forgotten.